Hello? Yeah, I'll be right there. Hi, welcome to the Juicy Girl podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to get into your story. We did try to record this already, and it did cut out, so bear with us as we tell everything all over again. So why don't you start by giving us a little background about yourself, your business, and then we'll get into how you got started.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Elaina. I am the co-owner of Frederick Family Co with my husband. We started this business last year, and we've grown immensely. We have grown our Etsy shop. We are in retailers all across America and actually internationally too, which is really cool. And we sell handmade accessories and more. So I have like lanyards, we sell keychains, we sell wallets, phone cases, Kindle cases. The kind of idea is to be like a one-stop shop for accessories, and that's kind of what we've been building for the past year.
You started creating handmade accessories during the pandemic. Can you take me back to that moment of when you were inspired and you wanted to create them, and then how you did begin making them for your friends and family?
Yes, so during the pandemic, I was a preschool teacher and also a grad student. So I would go to work every day from 8:30 to 5:30, and then I would go to class from 6:30 to 9:30.
Yeah.
And so it was long days, and I like being busy. But I loved being a preschool teacher because I got to be creative.
Yeah.
Like I loved doing crafts with the kids and experiments and making cute bulletin boards and all of that fun stuff. And then when the world shut down, I was home and I was bored. So I was in my dad's backyard at the time, and I would just like paint. I was painting things for family members, like they liked a sports team. I was painting something for them. We were moving into our apartment in a few months, so I was like, oh, I can make like cute little signs for our apartment. And but then I just continued with that. I just enjoyed creating things, and the whole pandemic I was making and being creative, and then the world went back to normal. And so I stopped for a while, and I was just working and finishing school, and I had to take tests to become a therapist and all that stuff. Then we got engaged. So like 2 years later, we got engaged, and I started making the bridesmaid proposal boxes and the groomsmen stuff, and I fell in love with it all over again.
Yeah.
Like I was reminded of like, oh, I really do like this.
Yeah.
And Drew honestly was always like, you should sell this stuff. And I was like, nobody's gonna buy it. Like I'm not doing that to myself.
Yeah.
He's like, no, he really kept pushing me. And so then around Christmas time, he found like not like a lesson, like a podcast actually about people selling ornaments. And he was like, oh, this would be really fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, like I don't think so. But so then he went and got me a sublimation printer, and kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone a little bit. And so I tried it, and I was like, actually, this feels really fun.
Yeah.
And I loved making ornaments. And then after Christmas, we sold a lot of ornaments during Christmas to family, to friends, and made customized ones. And then after, I kind of just got the taste of it. And I was like, I don't want this to end.
Yeah.
And we had a snow day at school one day, and I was home. And so, like, I made a bunch of different things. I was on TikTok, like, what can I make?
Yeah.
And I made a bunch of different things. I made our chapstick holders, our phone wallets, our car coasters, stuff that, like, we still sell to this day. I took pictures of it, put it on an Instagram, and was like, let's just see what happens.
I will say, whether it's a friendship, a relationship, a parent, whatever, you need that person to push you out of your comfort zone. Because there's multiple times where I'm like, I don't know, guys. Like, and they're like, no, like, you can do it. Like, why don't you just do it? And I feel like having, like, the person, now your husband, that you can, like, push you to start this is really cool.
Yeah, no, he was the one. I honestly, which is, like, so it's kind of terrible to say, but I really was like, oh, this guy can't sell things. Like, people aren't going to buy them. And he was like, you don't know until you try.
Exactly.
And I am so glad that we tried, and now we're here.
And, like, we were just saying, like, earlier over there, you have to start. Like, you just have to start because you don't know what could happen. You have to fake it till you make it, be delusional, manifest.
Yeah.
Because you never know. Like, you only have one life. Rather, like, do it and then maybe fail instead of being like, oh, I wonder, like, what could have been.
Yeah, exactly. I played basketball, and then he's also a big sports fan.
Yeah.
And he always says, like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And
exactly.
We just kind of live by that motto.
And it's gotten you to where you are now.
Where we are.
So last year you transitioned from selling to Etsy, selling to wholesale, and participating in markets. And also, you started your business last year, full time. How did you make that leap, and what were the challenges in scaling from small orders to resale clients?
Yeah, it's hard. So we started Etsy in February of 2024.
Yeah.
And a few weeks later, I had posted on wholesale and on Fair for wholesale, and we were getting some orders. I mean, nothing like we get today, but we were getting some orders, and it was so cool to like think about the fact that like our products would be in a store somewhere.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, okay, well, what else? Like, if people are actually buying the things that I didn't feel like were like the best products that I could be putting out there because we were just starting. People are actually buying this. Like, what else could we add and grow?
Yeah.
But managing that is really hard. And there's some really great podcasts and information out there about, selling wholesale and selling to retailers. So I kind of just took that information, and the best thing that I did the whole time was just take as much information as I can get from people who have done it, or people who know people who have done it, because I don't know, like, I'm growing and I'm learning. But selling wholesale has changed our business completely. We are in over like 300 retailers across the country, and we're also in Canada. So it's just been like such an experience. It's not easy. Like managing the big orders, you really have to like, it takes a lot of time to make all of that product, because all of our Fair orders are made to order.
Yeah.
So every product's handmade by me here, made to order, but it's like so rewarding too.
Yeah.
For markets, I just signed up. Like I was on TikTok and I was like, this looks like so much fun. And I did a lot of TikTok and YouTube research on like, what should I do? How do I do this? And I just looked up like New Jersey craft markets and craft fairs, and there was a bunch actually in Morristown, at like the St. Joseph's Church.
Yeah.
Right on so we did, that was like the first one I signed up for. And we did like Holland Ridge, the Tulip Festival.
Oh, that was so pretty. I've been to Holland Ridge before. I took my friend and she loves tulips, and I was like, let's go.
Yeah, I didn't even like know. I knew it was a thing, and then I was like, oh, I love this event, and now they have crafters, and like, so that was actually our first one. And at that time, we only had 10 lanyard designs. We only had car coasters, chopsticks, hand sanitizers, like 5 products, 10 designs, and we made over like 50 sales.
Wow.
I was like, wow, like this is, people actually like this. Like it's, and I think that was in April of 2024. And then that kind of just gave me a spark. I was like, we could do this. Like we could really do this. And so then I signed up for more markets, and from every market we did, we learned.
Yeah.
We're not like, we really didn't know what we were doing. We had to learn how to put up a tent by watching YouTube.
Yeah.
But every market we did, we learned and grew. And then I will say too that like most of our new products actually came from talking to people, which I loved that part of it. Like just talking to people and seeing seeing people that interacted with our brand and our business and stuff. So like they would be like, oh, like you have stick-on phone wallets. Why don't you bring magnetic ones? And I was like, it's a good idea. Like, so it was a lot of our growth also came from just talking to people and listening to people at these markets.
Going back, you said a lot of good things.
I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. Oh my god, this is the point of it. But I feel like this is the year and the time to start a business, because you have social media. Like you have YouTube, you have TikTok. That's the things I've learned too. TikTok and YouTube. Like why not? People are putting it out there. And also you're saying about like your customers, like that's why it's so important to listen to your customers, because they're telling you what they want. They're giving you ideas that you would have never had if you didn't talk to them. And I feel like that's just so like unique, especially being a small business. You really get to like know your consumers. Personally. Yeah. The markets are really fun.
I love them so much. I'm so excited to get back. But yeah, no, there's so, like you said, there's so much information out there, and you have to use it to your advantage, and you have to like, it's so easy to also compare yourself to people when you watch these things, but it's also easy to be like, I aspire to be them. Like I aspire to have the things that they have. Or
so they can do it, you can do it.
Yeah, anybody can do it. If I can do it, you guys, anybody can do it. This was not like, I didn't go to school for this. This was not what I thought I was going to be doing, but I'm so glad that it is.
Yeah.
But you just have to learn from people and be open to learning.
Yeah.
Like that's so important.
Have you ever gone to the retailers you've been in?
So no, because there's actually none in New Jersey.
Wow, okay.
That are like in person. A lot of them are like online boutiques. But we actually just shipped to a retailer in Hawaii.
That's so cool.
And we're going there for a honeymoon in a few weeks. So I'm going to try. This is my first one in Hawaii. So now we're in all 50 states.
That'd be so cool if you go to Hawaii though and you see like your stuff in Hawaii.
I know. I'm really hopeful. But No, I haven't. We are also, like, we have a pop-up shop in a store in Pennsylvania. That was really surreal. But that also just happened by, like, talking to people.
Networking. And I always say it, networking is about who you know and what you know.
Yeah.
Things I have, networking.
Yeah.
Literally just networking.
Another small business posted that she was doing, like, this store in Pennsylvania, and we just talked, and she was so helpful, so sweet, and was able, then we did that. So that was really surreal.
Yeah.
Seeing, like, all of our products in a store there, like, it's so cool.
It's really just, like, the little ones. It's, like, they're not even little, but just, like, the wins that remind you, like, day to day when you're, like, struggling to make things, like, oh, but, like, I did this. I can do something else.
Yeah, because it's not easy.
So, as you said, you've grown to over 12,000 Etsy sales and have expanded to 300 retailers across the U.S., now 50 states. And out of the U.S., what do you think the key has been to your rapid success?
Oh, boy.
If you could like, pinpoint it.
Yeah, I would say just going with it. I mean, that's a weighted, like, answer, but we've just gone with it. We've started small, and I have given so much time and so much energy, and my husband too. We spend so much time with this business, and we go with it. And like you said, celebrating the small wins. Like, every small win that you do motivates you to do more.
Yeah.
And bring more. And the excitement that I get when I make a new design or make a new product. I would say too, the biggest thing is trying to, like, so when I first started, I was very focused on a niche.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I need to, like, only be like, key ring accessories.
Yeah.
So that's why we had the lanyards and the keychains and all of that stuff. But then I listened to a podcast, and they talked about, instead of focusing on a niche, focus on a population.
Yeah.
Which was such a game changer for me. I worked at the school at the time, and I was driving home because I worked in Ramsey, so it was like an hour drive. And I was on my way home, and I had a really tough day at work, and I was listening to this podcast for some motivation, and I was like, population, like, I feel like so many light bulbs went off in my head.
Yeah.
And I feel like our target audience is, like, people our age, young, and my husband jokes around, he's like, the Lulu girls. But it is, like, the Lululemon, the Anthropologie, like, that is the audience that I wanted to target.
Yeah.
So then I had to do, like, research into, like, what are these customers buying?
Yeah.
So we went to Lululemons, we went to Anthropologies, we went to Madewell, like, we went to all the stores, and we're looking at, like, the items that they had around the checkouts.
That's so smart.
Yeah, so it was like, okay, what are some, like, accessories that they're, into, and things that they're into, and that was so helpful. So, like, the biggest key and then being trendy too.
Yeah.
I feel like part of me too, like, a lot of the things I create are things I would use. So we really started focusing on a population instead of just a niche. And what would customers in this population like? And that's when I did a lot of research too at our markets.
Yeah.
Like, who's stopping at our booths? It was young moms, college students, young adults that, like, and designs. That was really important to me. I am a neutral girl at heart. I love all the girly businesses, and like, that's amazing, but it just wasn't me. And so I was like, I want to start, like, I'm girly enough, but not girly, like, not like pink. Like, it's not my thing. And so I wanted to start, like, neutral but girly vibes. And so that was just kind of how it happened. And I did a lot of research into trends and colors that are trending and products that are trending, and kind of just listen to what my sales were showing me. I started with, like, very retro preppy designs because I felt like that's what people wanted. And I noticed that, like, which is still our bestseller, but our black and white flowers was like doing so much better, or our, like, green checker, and, like, okay, actually, like, maybe I don't need to, like, do things just because I feel like that's what I should be doing.
No, you got to make your business. It's you. Yeah. Obviously, you have to listen to your consumers, but you got to follow it. Your business, what makes you different. There's no business just like yours.
Exactly. And that's the biggest lesson that I learned, was, like, stepping outside of just, like, what's trendy.
Yeah.
But finding your own trends and finding your own brand identity. Like, that was really hard. And I wouldn't say that I would say we actually recently probably just did, like, in November, I would say I really found, like, my brand identity. Yeah. And I'm just, like, going with it.
It's rolling with the punches.
It's going with it.
Yeah. What has been the biggest surprise in terms of how your business has evolved since you started?
There's a lot of surprises.
This is the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing. The whole thing. I did not think we would ever be here. I really, my passion for creating turned into a stream of income, but it turned into so much more than that. Like, I love talking about it. I love doing it. Yeah, there are days where it's really hard. And, like, getting up in the morning, like, I have to pack more orders.
Yeah, just seeing your Instagram stories show it. I mean, I like how you show the real and raw. Like I stayed till 3 a.m. to do it. You know, my husband woke up and he's at a port. Like, it's just like, it's little things that like show that it's a small business, a family business. It's not like,
I try, because it is. It's real. Like, I probably am running on like 5 hours of sleep last night because my husband was traveling and I had to pack. You know, it's not easy, but I would say that it's rewarding. Yeah, and the biggest surprise is how rewarding it could be. I remember like after we applied for brand reps, and I texted my best friend. I was like, people are actually applying. Like, I was just like, yes, people are applying, Elaina, because it's a good business. Why wouldn't they want to apply? And you know, I have to kind of remind myself of that sometimes because, you know, sometimes there's this huge sense of imposter syndrome of like, I don't deserve this. Yeah. But I do. We've worked so hard for this, and
it's okay to brag a little bit too about yourself. Like, that's what I always try to tell people. Like, obviously, like, you gotta be humble, but like, it's your business. You did it. You worked your like butt off this entire year. Yeah. You're here right now. Yeah. You did all of that.
Yeah, I have to remind myself of that sometimes. But that's the biggest surprise, is that it's just evolved into something so powerful, and that so many people care about like my family and my business and me as a person. And I couldn't do it without our followers on Instagram and all of our customers and everybody, but it's just all a surprise.
Yeah. So as we keep talking about, you have a husband and you guys are co-owners in your business. What has that been like, working so closely together on this?
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. He's my best friend. I would say that I would not be doing this if it wasn't for him. Even so prior to this school year, or this year, I was a full-time school counselor. So I was a school counselor all day, and then I was also pursuing private practice therapy. So I would do that after school, and then I would come home and craft. And he sat me down in June, and he was like, I think we need to talk about you quitting school counseling. And I was like, I can't do that. I have the benefits. Yeah. And, you know, the pension. He's like, no, like, you need to take the leap. Like, you need to do this. And I was like, are you sure? But I think it's so important to have his support. Yeah. There's challenges. Like, we literally, as you can see, we're in a very confined space here. This is our dining room. This is our living room. But the most important thing is compromise, right? Yeah. We have to remember that we're a team. He'll pick up the slack when I don't. I'll pick up the slack when he does it. It's so important to remember, like, we have to support each other. It's really easy to be like, oh, well, I thought of this design, and so, like, it's mine. And I have to, like, sometimes, you know, remind myself, like, I could never do this without him, and I wouldn't be here without him. And so just finding that gratitude for the person is really important.
How do you balance family life and work life? Obviously, you work out of your house. Yeah. So do you have any tips, or is it just kind of like you're working on that right now?
It's hard. It's really hard. We do the best that we can to balance, but right now we know what we're doing. We're growing. Yeah. And we both are okay with grinding. So like Sundays, we'll watch football all day, but we're crafting and we're packing orders at the same time. Like, we'll watch TV at night, and we have to find the moments. Thankfully, we have honestly really such a good relationship, and I'm so grateful for that, where we just talk. So like, even when we're packing orders, we're talking and laughing, and it's hard to, you know, it feels like there's a lot that you can't be doing sometimes because this takes so much time. Yeah. Eventually, hopefully, we grow to the point where, like, you know, if he can quit his job, or if, you know, we can hire somebody more full-time to help us and stuff. So get a warehouse, get a house, get out of our apartment. Yeah. So like right now we're grinding really hard. But we're balancing it by just like showing up for each other. I try very hard to like set the boundary of like, we don't always need to talk about the business. Yeah. It's a very hard balance because it consumes you, especially when you're doing it with your husband. Like, oh, we could do this market. And he's like, Elaina, it's midnight. Can we go to bed? Yeah. So it's finding that balance to like show up for each other. Yeah. But I'm just grateful for him.
I love that.
Yeah, he's so amazing. I'm like, oh God, I really do. Like, I could not do this without him, without his support. He'll come down and he'll pack orders when I can't. Or just in general, he does a lot for the business. And I think that's the biggest thing too. Is like, it's not a competition. Yeah. A lot of people I feel like are like, well, I did this and you did this, and we both really have to remind ourselves, like, it's a team, and you can't compare yourself to the other person. They're both doing the best that they can, and how do you show up for each other as a team?
Yeah. So not only as, you're a business owner, but you also are a full-time therapist. So how do you balance the demands of your job? Because obviously, you're helping people out, but create that boundary and create the, stopping your mind from that when you're not with your client.
Yeah, it's hard. I keep saying it's hard. I'm gonna read it. Yeah, it's all about balance, right?
Yeah.
We keep going back to that balance. I love being a therapist. I would not change it for anything.
Mhm.
I love helping people, and there's times where like I have to sit there before a session because I most of the time I work from home,
Mhm.
which has been amazing and gives me so much flexibility. But I'm down here packing orders, and then I like have to walk upstairs and do sessions.
Yeah.
So it's finding, okay, now I'm in this headspace. Like now I'm therapy Elaina, and I need to put small business Elaina like to bed for a little bit and just really be present.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing, is just trying to be present in every single thing that you do. Listen, I overthink everything. I got anxiety, and so when you're in the moment, you just have to be focused on what you're doing in that moment.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing that helps me. And I love knowing that like I get to show up for other people.
Yeah.
And I get to help them. So it's all just so rewarding.
No, I bet it is. But it's also like hard, but it's probably really rewarding.
Yeah.
So obviously you told me you have a 6-figure business, which is a huge accomplishment.
Thank you.
It's like that's amazing. It's incredible, especially in a year. You did that in a year. What was your mindset and approach when you were starting out, and how did you stay motivated during the tough early days when like you maybe had 1 or 2 orders?
Yeah. So the mindset was just try. Just try and see. The best thing for me was I didn't have high expectations.
Yeah.
Which looking back, I'm like, wow, I could have probably had higher, but I didn't think anybody was going to buy anything.
Yeah.
Still to this day, we get about 50 to 60 orders every single day on Etsy and about 20 wholesale orders a week. And I still am shocked. And I know that's terrible, but I'm still shocked sometimes because I'm like, wow, like this is continuing. And I know I remind myself that like I've worked for this and I know I deserve this, but part of what's helped me so much is just going with it.
Yeah.
I think I was in both my husband were in a very unique situation starting, is we both had full-time jobs.
Yeah.
So he works in finance. So like, we do economically, we're okay. Financially, we're okay. So it wasn't like I needed this business because I know some people rely on it to pay their rent.
Yeah.
And I think that's, if you're working, start.
Yeah.
If your only opportunity is to do this business and you can't work, that's fine too. But it puts so much pressure on it.
Yeah.
So right now, even with therapy, like I know, like I'm good, but like this business is helping us and is growing, and maybe one day it will be the sole income. But that's kind of how I really was able to manage it, because I would be really stressed out, like buy my product so I could pay my rent. And if you do that, hats off to you. I think it's amazing. It's just I was able to both work, and we still are able to work and do the business, which takes off so much of that pressure. Yeah. Where I can just enjoy it. Yeah.
It's like a hobby for you.
Yeah, it is. It's a hobby. I have to, I watch Monica's
Collective.
Yeah, I love her.
Me too. She's I wanted to go to her pop-up in the Saba, and I ended up going. I was so upset.
Yeah, I love her. And one thing, so she recently quit her job too. We quit our jobs around the same time. And so I kind of like followed her journey. And when she says like, this is my work now, I'm like, oh yeah, this is my work now. So, I quit my school counseling job, but I still do therapy. Yeah. So like I have 2 jobs, but they're both like flexible, which is really good. Yeah.
What's one lesson that you wish you knew before starting off and you would give to another small business owner who wants to start?
I keep going back to it, but start.
Yeah.
Start. Put it out there. You never know, right? I keep referencing people, but Ellie Nicole, like her advice was, your people are going to find you. Yeah. Like people who want and care about your art and care about your products are going to find you. And you're going to make that happen. The advice that I have is, there's a few. If you're selling on Etsy, focus on product photography. Like my business completely changed when I invested in professional photos. It's expensive, but it really, really paid off for us. It made us just look more professional. The advice I have too is find your population, find your niche. Don't just make things because you feel like that's what's trendy right now or what people set your own trends. Continue to think of different things. We recently added Kindle cases because my best friend was like, "Do you have cases for your Kindle?" And I was like, "No, but like, do you think people would buy it?" And she was like, "I think people would." And I would. And so then I was like, and then I just looked into it. I was like, "Oh, you know what? There's not that many people out there selling this."
Yeah.
Everbee is a great tool where it shows you like how many people are searching things on Etsy for that compared to the competition. So if you search t-shirts, there's over like 90 million people on Etsy selling t-shirts. Yeah. Which like if you have a successful t-shirt business, like hats off because that's hard. But you know, for us, I really wanted to try to find things that were niche and the competition was lower. Yeah. Because that's how you're going to grow, right? It's getting to that page, getting to that front page is so hard. And when you're doing it in where the percentage, the way they break it down makes more sense than the way I'm explaining it, but finding things that just aren't super popular and that you make popular. Yeah. Like, you don't need to make things because they're popular. You need to make things because you want to, and you're going to make them popular through your business. That's good advice. I feel like I'm obsessed. I love this episode. I'm like, okay, I hope that's good.
Where can people find you? What's your website, your Etsy? Where can people find you if they want to shop or just follow your journey?
Yeah, we're Frederick Family Co. On Instagram. Our Etsy's Frederick Family Store. I'm hoping to change that to Frederick Family Co., but it's Frederick Family Store on Etsy. We have our own website, frederickfamilyco.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook. We're on TikTok. We're going to be doing markets all over Jersey this year. So we'll be in markets starting in April until November. So pretty much every weekend we'll be somewhere.
Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for inviting me to come into your apartment and see your space.
Thank you so much. This was such an honor. I'm so glad we got to do this.